Talking with people with music in their genes, their blood, and in their soul. You are watching Musical Interlude. Welcome to another episode of Musical Interlude. I am your host, Casey Bell, and today's musical guest is Pete Price. Let's get this show started.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. The first question I ask everyone is, when did you first discover either your passion for music or your talent, your music talent?
I discovered my singing talent when I was pretty young. My father was a minister, and he always tried to keep me off the streets. So he got me involved in the junior choir, and I started singing in the choir. Figured I had an ear for harmony, and I also became a soloist with the choir and did a lot of the boy soprano solos when I was, before puberty. And then, as I got older, I got interested more in rock music. The Beatles came to the United States, and that set me on fire. And everybody wanted to start a band, and so I was one of those that did. And so at a pretty early age, I found out that I had enough talent to entertain people and carry a tune. And after that, I started out as a lead singer for a band. And then I began learning how to play the guitar shortly thereafter. And so I've been a guitarist and vocalist ever since.
And at what point did you decide that this would be something you would consider doing more, I guess you could say, professionally, as opposed to just doing it on the side as a hobby?
Really, when I finished my career as a business owner, at that point I had enough time to devote to my music in more of a full-time way, and that was right before COVID hit, and and I've been playing in bands for many years. I've been in a band that I'm in currently for over 30. And once I retired, I had a lot of time to pursue things that more interested me, like songwriting and playing my own music. And so I started doing that. And it turned out to be one of the most rewarding things that I've done in my life. I really enjoy writing songs. I mean, it's not that I didn't write songs before, but to do it in a more immersive way was really rewarding to me. And so I've just sort of found kind of my passion at a fairly late age in life, and am really enjoying the process.
What was so when you first acknowledged, okay, I'm going to do this full time, what did you first started doing to figure out how to do it?
Um, I started by going back into songwriting, and I wrote I met a gentleman when I was on a bike tour in Italy, and we found out that we had a lot in common musically. He lives in New York, and I live in the Midwest, and we promised that we would stay in touch after we got done riding through Tuscany. And so I wrote a song that I thought he would appreciate and send it to him. And he got right back with me and said that he really liked it, and that he would like to make some modifications to it and record it down in Nashville. And so I thought, well, gosh, that's great. Never really had a song, recorded outside of like home studios and that sort of thing. And so when it was time for him to record it, he invited me down for the session. And that was during COVID, and everybody was all masked up, and it was a little weird. But we got the song recorded. It turned out great, and he put it on his album. And it kind of set a fire under me. It kind of made me believe that, heck, I can do this. And so I was writing songs and decided that I would be more intentional as far as actually putting out an album. And I was looking at it more as kind of a legacy project initially, because, you want to kind of let people, in your family who don't know you very well, have a little bit of an idea of, what you were about and the kind of thoughts you had, and what your dreams and hopes were and stuff like that. And I thought, I've had some grandfathers and fathers who have written, their memoirs. And I thought that this would be a fitting way for me as a musician to kind of leave a memoir. But what I found was that the songs had pretty wide commercial appeal, and it just turned out to be such a fun process that I decided to, dig a little bit deeper and try to promote the album a little bit, and then I just started writing songs for the second album, and I'm in the process of recording album number 2 now.
Cool. So what did you learn during the process that you maybe wish you would have known before you started the process of recording and producing and publishing music?
I think probably the biggest lesson that I learned was that, before I took a lot of things personally, and I was more thin-skinned about, my my art and my ability as a musician. And I learned pretty early on that that was holding me back, that I needed to let go of that and not take anything personally when it comes to putting art out. And so once I got over that hurdle, it became a lot easier for me to put myself out there, because, people are going to like or they're not going to like my music. And I can't really do anything about that. I can only put it out there and let people decide for themselves. So once I cleared that hurdle, I just was able to be a lot more genuine as far as, my thoughts and feelings and putting those into music. And it's made the process a lot more fun for me, because I just don't have that emotional stake in the music anymore. I'm just kind of like a medium or a channel where, the ideas will come in, and I'll put them to music, and then, I'll record them and put them out there. So it's been very freeing for me to make that step, I guess.
You have a new album, well, an album out now called Department of the Interior. Why that title? What does it represent? What does it mean? How did you come up with this concept for the album?
I've always been interested in inner growth, personal growth, the inner side, because I think that's sort of where you find happiness or misery as a human being. And so many of the songs on the album are kind of focused toward that. And hopefully, if I've done my craft well enough, there may be clues for other people if they listen to the songs, and maybe they'll see a little bit of themselves in some of these songs, or maybe pick up something that, turns the light on for them as well. It certainly, there are songs about love. There's songs about losing. There's songs about personal transcendence, kind of how you get from point A to point B, doing a project, or even just getting through a day. So the whole inner life to me is very important.
So I was on your website and I noticed that you wrote, how do I say, a brief inspiration behind each song as to why you wrote it, what inspired you to write it. And I I'm glad you did that because so many songs, 20 years later, you find out what it means and you're like, I didn't even know. And I think you can appreciate a song better if you understand why the songwriter wrote it. And so the one song I want to talk about is the Crossing. What inspired you to write that one?
The Crossing was a song about kind of coming of age and getting out of the shadow of your father. My dad was a very, very strong and charismatic person, loved by almost everyone that he came in contact with, and such a really, really good soul. And for many years, I tried to live up to him, and it was difficult because he was such an incredible man. So one of the things that you wind up learning is that you are a unique person, and you really, when you start comparing yourself to somebody else, you're always going to suffer in that comparison because you're always going to pick the best quality, the one that you don't measure up to, and that's how you're going to compare yourself. Or you're going to pick just an incredible person and you're going to compare yourself to that person. So the first part of the song was I use a river as a metaphor and the reflection of myself in the river and trying to get across that river, and the river was really what was stopping me from becoming the person that I hoped that I could be. So in the process of getting to know myself and really accepting who I was, and then realizing that was going to be okay, that this is what God had given me, and when God gives you something, it's perfect. So you just got to figure out how to use it. So none of us come with owner's manuals, so we got to figure it out on our own, and nobody can tell you either. You just have to figure it out. So that's kind of what The Crossing was about. And over the passing of time from being a young boy through early adulthood, and then into middle age, and now in late middle age, I feel like I've gotten across the river, and oh yeah, I got my feet wet, and I might have fallen in a couple times, but I made it. So I'm happy about that.
Well, I thank you for the writing and producing of that song, The Crossing. I'm hoping it inspires someone out there. With that said, what advice would you give to someone who is thinking about entering the music business, mostly on I'll say independent round, and they have yet to make that leap of faith to just do it? What advice would you give them?
Well, I would just advise them to do it, and also that it's a struggle. I mean, there are a lot of people out there who are doing the same thing, and you can't expect that you're going to become successful right away. You have to get in there, and you have to try. You have to put out your music, and you have to learn, and you're going to constantly evolve, but you have to trust in yourself that you have something to share with the world, and just continue on that path, because making art is really a privilege, and anybody that feels like they have that they want to make art and and share that with the world, they have my admiration, because it requires a great deal of courage. And so as long as you feel like you have what it takes, and you've got the courage to put yourself out there, and you're willing to work hard, I'd say just go for it.
Thank you. So my last question I have for you today, you have time, you don't have to answer right away, you have time to think about it. Two choices. Someone out there in the music world that is no longer with us, that you would have liked to maybe collaborate with, and then someone in the music world who is alive that you would like to collaborate with.
Well, I can think of a couple of people right off the top of my head who've passed on and that I would have loved to have collaborated with. I mean, you know, John Lennon is one of those. Certainly an incredible songwriter, and I look at you know, his body of work and you know how he was able to create, and I think what a gift it would be to be able to sit there and be part of his process and to contribute to a song in my own small way. I'd probably be overawed by just the experience of doing that, but that would be one person. And then the other person is a fellow who you may or may not know. His name is Dan Fogelberg. And Dan Fogelberg should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but he's not. He is a wonderful songwriter and kind of a person who I patterned my singer-songwriter trade and performing after. So Dan Fogelberg would be the other. And then as far as a person who is still alive, I mean, I can think of a couple. First of all, Bob Dylan would be one. Just such an incredible mind. I know that he's probably, and I would say Bob Dylan when he was in his heyday, you know, maybe not so much now, because I think he's kind of been there, done that, and you know, may not have the fire that he once had, but he would be one. I really like you know, Donald Fagen with Steely Dan from a musical standpoint, especially. I think sometimes certainly, I mean, he's gotten his due. He's not underrated by any stretch of the imagination. But I think it would be so fun to be in a studio and create with him. So there's a few good ones, I think.
Riverside, I could go up, I could go down, I could stay dry. What is on the other side? I could be safe, I could be warm, I could still hide. On the other shoreline, moving through the trees, I see the mansion that I had hoped to live in long ago. Will I ever find a place to rest, someone to comfort me? Oh, I just don't know, I just don't know. When I reach the riverside, the gray and the reflection that comes from life, no matter how it's lived. I had hoped someday to see that face smile back at me contented, but now I know it's you I must forgive.
like to thank our guest, Pete Price, for stopping on by and sharing his journey with us. And of course, you, the audience, thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Have yourself a great day.